long time.
Hey, hey, hey. Four o'clock. That's when we do this. That's how you know what time it is. Because it's 4 o'clock on Wednesday or Sunday, and it's the Jimmy Doane Show live. That's us. Today is the 15th day of December 2019. Hey Scott, how are you, sir? And I'm in the studio with Dr. Doane. I'll post a timestamp copy of this show up on YouTube and Twitter sometime later tonight, hopefully. And you can find us around the web in audio format. So, hope you're having a good day today. What is happening?
Well, before we get started, let me just say I want to thank you to the people that are watching the show and sharing. We did get a bunch of extra watches this week, which was great. So, when you, if you would, do a like or a share or something like that.
Block.
Yeah, block. No, well, don't. Yeah, block him. That's right. So anyway, that's great. We've had things are ramping up, and we're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep. Yeah, and everybody else. That's right. One little quick thing before we get started. I noticed it just before coming in here. There's a headline in England that the British Muslims, there's a big exodus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, now I say big exodus, might be 10 people, I don't know. But the thing is, they're panic-stricken because Boris, 20 years ago, said Muslims...
line them up.
Line them up, right. Almost that. I mean, this was it was in 1998. He said something about that. And as far as they're concerned, now that he's got this mandate, and I'll tell you, this is a mandate. You can say what you want. A lot of times, we have here in Gainesville, there 20% of the people...
51-49.
51-49 on 20%.
Right.
So we're talking about 11% of when they get elected, we have a mandate to change everything. Well, this was different.
Right,
this
you're talking about the UK.
This was huge.
Yeah.
And so they are, lining up to go. And I saw some of the people, the charity Muslim people, that said, we've had some people that we've been doing charity for and everything, and they're thinking about leaving because... And I'm sitting there thinking, what I was always worried about was a number of people in this country who said they were going to leave if the Donald got elected. No.
Look, it's an empty threat. It's, it's so bad here. Woe is me. It's like a child running away from home. I'm going to run. Where are you going? The end of the mailbox, basically.
You always see that in Calvin and Hobbes.
Right.
They're always hoofing it, and they get lost like a mile from home.
Yeah. I mean, come on. So where are they going to go? But obviously, this election has riled up the left in the UK.
Well, Jeremy's living. He's leaving.
He has to.
Pretty much.
Bye. You're out. So we'll see.
He did have. Let me interrupt just for a second. He did have an excuse that says it wasn't his fault.
Well, of course. Well, what are you going to say?
I did my best. It wasn't my fault. It was the damn voters or something. I forget. I forget what the excuse was. But I'm sitting there thinking, there's when your ego is wounded, you
have to.
I know.
Your mind has to continue. You can't live with this recurring concept of I screwed everything up in my life and killed myself. It's like it can't believe that. So it's got to pave over something.
One of the things I found, especially after,
and who knows, it may not be his fault.
Well, no, maybe not. But one of the things that I found, especially since I got my double lung transplant, was what matters and what doesn't matter. And I am the first one to admit when I screw up. I mean, even when I don't, I'll take the blame for it.
It's a very healthy
it cleanses me. It cleanses me.
Well, lost a lens there.
Great.
Speaking of cleanse.
Yeah.
It allows you to move forward, but you have to forget that. One of the things people don't realize is the mind intentionally forgets things. And whenever you do something wrong, once you correct that, you don't have any need to remember the wrong way. Just remember the correct path. Well, as long as you can remember that the correct way is the correct way.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, I have these moments where I go, no, I didn't do that. And please, could I just forget that one?
Well, right. Your memory's too good. It's leached over into the the untouchable area.
There was a movie about this, not just it was on Netflix here, just in the last month, about selective forgetting. They had a way to do it.
Sure. And there's those dozen people who don't forget anything.
Yeah. Ooh.
And but they've learned to deal with it, fortunately, which
You don't have much choice.
No, well,
That's the thing. You don't have much choice.
No, for them, too bad.
Yeah.
I can't turn it off.
I know, it is interesting. There's people. Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what was next?
Well, just this, when you're talking about the UK elections, one thing I thought is interesting is I wonder how, if Trump wins in the next fall, how the left is going to react to that. Will there be, you hear these cries from the left and say, well, he won't give up if he loses. He won't. Of course, I think he'll leave. But by the same token, do you think people will take to the streets if he wins?
They take to the streets anyway. I mean, they take to the streets all the time. They might be outnumbered by the people who take to the streets during the inauguration.
Right.
Those people are mostly, there's some protesters, but mostly the people that voted for him.
Yeah.
I think about
nothing different this election.
I did see one thing that was a cartoon in the UK newspaper, and it showed Boris ripping off his face and Trump's.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Right.
Under the mask of Boris was Trump.
That's a good one.
It was really cool. I just thought it. Anyway, I got a couple things here that.
I was supposed to bring us to the UK during all that.
Okay. Well, let me just see if I don't know if I've got anything else.
I think you had one other UK. Maybe we crossed over with.
We might have. Let's see. Magic mushrooms, African migrant apprehensions, L.A. Heisa.
Oh, one other thing I had about here is one other thing. This is it. So do you remember last time we were doing the show was the night before the election, or the election had just happened.
Okay.
And
in England.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all of the reports were it's down to the wire.
Right. Oh yeah.
Razor thin.
Razor thin.
Right. Okay. Blowout. Huge landslide.
Unbelievable. I mean, how
avalanche.
What was interesting?
Avalanche. How did they get so wrong? Is what I'm getting at. Why the press and the pollsters were so wrong?
2 reasons.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you 2 reasons. One, the press was wishing it so.
Man, please.
I mean, they just were wishing it. They were going to call it razor thin until whatever. And of course, it takes a little while for the exit polls to show up.
Yeah.
So, but before the exit polls, they were, So now, when you talk about the pollsters, though, one of the things that's happening here, which is what's a hoot, most of the talk show host people. I mean, I don't know about Hannity, but Mark Levin and Rush and some of the other people they're saying, look, when the pollster calls you, and Scott Adams.
Lie.
When the pollster calls, lie through your teeth. Tell them,
they got the message. I mean,
what I'm saying is, can you imagine when you think about it for a second, at a random sample, 63 million people voted for Trump and 66 million voted for Hillary, or whatever it is. So on a random basis, about half the calls are going to go to Trump supporters.
Yeah.
So if those people say, no, I'm for Nancy, or I'm for Beto,
right,
or whatever it is, you can imagine they would have meant like 1,200 calls.
Yeah.
For these things, and there's margin of error 3%, whatever it is. But it doesn't take more than 15 or 20 people to lie
to skew
it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that happens, because the call is out for people. I mean, I can tell you.
Well, I didn't hear about it for Boris. I heard about it. We didn't listen to Scott also, and so I didn't know how widespread his audience.
But how could you? Here's the deal: you can't explain the fact that literally until the exit polls started to come out, that at that point, razor thin. A toss up. And I got to ask yourself, how could that be? Unless somebody was lying to the pollsters.
Well, I think your other explanation was accurate as well, which was confirmation bias. The press really wanted it to be razor thin.
Except for the fact that they're reading the polls like everybody else.
Or something.
But they're reading the polls like everybody else.
Well, you and I both know how polls are difficult to conduct.
Oh yeah, when you talk about the methodology,
right? And
do you still beat your wife?
Right, and if you don't have a real professional polling organization, you can very quickly get into ridiculous results.
And of course, then what they'll do is there are some of them that average the polls.
Right.
And come up with a number. They have they poll the pollsters.
Yeah.
Well, of course, if you've got some real outliers that you're weighing in there.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was interesting that it was so far off.
No,
So-
I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, it was like you say, a complete blowout. But it's going to be fascinating because he does have the mandate, and he's
Brexit it is. I think they're walking out of there, and this is going to be a very interesting deal. I think this is the other thing that you had was the UK or the EU is complaining. Oh no, now there's going to be a new trading partner, a new big dog on the block, and that's obviously the UK.
Well, I've got it here. Here's the headline: EU warns of post-Brexit rival Britain after Johnson win.
Warns, we're concerned.
We're concerned. Well, I mean, European leaders warned Friday that Britain could become a formidable rival just hours after the big victory by Boris, Conservatives, and all but sealed the UK's Brexit divorce, which of course it did seal, not all but.
Yeah.
But anyway, they expressed the EU chiefs, unelected, whatever, also expressed belief that British voters had sent a clear message, bringing an end to the first phase of a crisis that has dogged Europe for more than 3 years, because that's how long ago it was. Led by France and Germany, EU member states said they would pursue a swift trade deal with a tight deadline of ending in 2020, sometime in 2020, but insisted that any new arrangement must uphold European values and norms. Yeah, well, BS.
You must uphold the values.
Right. That's right, the values.
Of course, look, this is going to be a scramble to get some deals done. Hopefully, they're on the thin side, so that they don't get favoritism for a whole bunch of people. The UK is small enough to have some decent control over not having control, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and of course, Angela has said she warned that Britain would become an economic competitor at our door. Yeah. Well, the point is that what you're finding out is all the stuff that came before the vote is trash, garbage.
Well, of course it was.
Is what Macron said, that London would become an unfair competitor.
Sure.
Are you crazy?
Not totally unfair.
It's totally fair. Well, yeah, right. Totally unfair. He said what he's worried about. This reflects the concern that Britain could become. I'm not sure what this means. The Singapore on the Thames.
Oh my God!
Like Singapore.
That sounds, you know what that is? That's racist.
I mean, a trading hub.
What do you got against Singaporeans, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Well, a trading hub where
What do you
multinational.
mean, you people?
You people. Well, what they're saying is that, and I've seen this before. There was a thing on Netflix called The Spider Web, and how London became, after the empire failed, how they become the monetary center, in the world, and everybody all the money was pouring into England, but. The multinationals can gain access to EU's huge market without playing by its rules. And of course, see, up until now, you had to play by, quote, because they were sort of in the EU, you had to, and that was one of the things why the Brexit thing was so soundly defeated, because there were a lot of people in the UK that were being harmed horribly because of the rules set up.
What do you mean the Brexit thing was defeated? You mean how it didn't go down through when Theresa May was trying to get it through?
Right. Well, what happened was the first Brexit deal was thin. The vote was thin.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people. There was a movie put out. It was a propaganda piece or whatever, but it was pretty good, showing why there should be a Brexit. This was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons they showed were the number of people, especially fishermen and some other people, who'd been harmed horribly by the EU rules.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the fact that their fishing, where they used to fish, had been shut off because the Netherlands people wanted to, and all that. By law, you couldn't, the line was in the water or whatever it was. Well, of course, now that's all off.
Sure.
And so there are going to be a lot of people who are now going to compete.
Economic freedom.
Economic freedom,
breeds
that's right.
competition, which breeds prosperity.
Well, no, but it's interesting. If you listen to Richard Wolff, and I'm going to have some more to say about this.
Well, we got his first name now. It's Richard.
Yeah, Richard Wolff, PhD, MD. Well, not MD, but PhD.
Well, why don't you review one of his lectures for us?
I'm going to have to do that because I did pull it down. I saved it. And he was what he did is he said that capitalism.
Just bury a few pyramids and dig them up again.
He said, right. Well, he did. He said that capitalism automatically goes to a monopoly. And then when monopolies break up, then it rotates back to capitalism, and that we can't have this oscillation back and forth according to what he says.
And so in his cycle, the government breaks up the monopoly of the.
I think so, but what I'm saying, yeah. But one of the things that he did, I'm digressing here slightly just for a minute. What he said, for instance, in the 20s and 30s, there were like 100 or more car companies. But they condensed down and now to an oligopoly of basically 3 of them. Well, until the Japanese, of course, have come in, the Germans have come in. Right. And he says, now you've got this, there's no price competition because it's like an oligopoly, which is like a monopoly,
Except for Hyundai.
Well, not only that, one of the things that he fails when he talks about, he talked a little bit about the cereal people. That I don't know if he did or not, but he's talking about Kellogg's has all these brands, and Post has all these. And one of the things that he didn't realize was even those companies compete among themselves for this stuff. I mean, you go down the cereal aisle, there's 300 different kinds of cereals there from probably 50 manufacturers. There's no monopoly. And and the other thing that he talks about is how the people collude to do this stuff. And I'm wondering, where does he eat his hamburgers? Five Guys, Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, any one of the other. In this town alone, we got 20 different not only 20 different pizza places, we have 100 different pizza places, and admittedly
sounds like collusion to me.
No, not exactly. You're
talking about centralized food, aren't you?
Last night, you and I, and Mrs. Jimmy went to a place that I'd never been to before, locally owned, competes with everybody.
Brought to you by Leonardo's Pizza. Leonardo's in the Millhopper Shopping Center.
That's
been
right.
there for 43 years.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, it's very unique pizza. But when you think about it, the competition among pizza, there's no oligopoly, there's no monopoly, there's nothing. It is the Wild West in pizzas. And you think about it, I mean, I see the pizza.
Sounds like it's ripe for regulation.
Well, again, you wouldn't be. So anyway, I'm going to talk about
how big should the pizza be? How thick should a pizza really be?
That's right.
I think we need a regulation.
We need
one size fits all.
Another thing I've got here, moving along, the Los Angeles high schools are going to open sexual and mental health clinics in a pioneering program. Now, what's interesting, I thought, was they're partnering with Planned Parenthood.
Right.
Which, of course, like abortion people, those will offer birth control, STI, which is disease testing.
STD, probably sexually transmitted.
Yeah, sexually transmitted infection, I guess that is. And for anxiety and depression. So they're going to open up now. When I was in school, we had a nurse that was, and that's it. That was it for 500 students. We had a nurse,
and she'd rub some dirt on it if you just.
Yeah, that's right. So
that's it.
So
how about some of this?
Dozens of Los Angeles high schools will soon host clinics providing sexual and mental health services for teenagers as part of a wellness program. Now, one of the things that I look at, I don't even have to read the rest of the sentence to realize once the government gets involved in this, you got to ask yourself what's going on here. One of the things that is kind of nice, I remember when I was in school, you had to rate, if you wanted to go to the bathroom, now they let you go 99 times out of 100, but you had to raise your hand. I got to go to the bathroom. And of course, if you abuse the privilege, say, can you wait another minute?
They beat you mercilessly.
Beat you mercilessly, that's right. But now, I'm feeling depressed. Well, go to the...
That's right. Take a day off.
Take a day, right, that's right. Comprehensive...
Mental health day.
A model of comprehensive on-campus care. Now
this is what I was thinking. This is what I wrote down a minute ago. I was thinking, boy, what a great back door for the universal health care system. What you do is you start, like California, mandates that, if kid comes to school sick, we're going to treat him for anything.
Yep.
And then they just expand it. And so then the school just offers health care, so to speak. And you can emergency services or whatever, and then it just grows from there, and then it helps with the indoctrination if you're into that theory, because then look, this is the place you go to get your education and your wellness, and it's the government, and it's right there, it's all free.
Yep. Well,
it's right.
What somebody was telling me that there's something right. Somebody was telling me there's something like 170 languages are spoken in the California school system.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what? You have to have interpreters for all these people.
Well,
Inuit. We have to have an Inuit interpreter here.
I think that was touted as that's how many they taught in there, but I think
I want to know. I want to see the guy who does the
clicky
guy.
Mosa. XOSA. Yep.
So anyway. So anyway, the school board clinics announced this week are in a collaboration between Planned Parenthood and the county public and mental health officials, and of roughly 75,000 students at 50 schools. Now that can't be that many. I mean, when I think about it, 75,000, 7,500 divided by 5 is 1,500 per school. I mean, there's a lot more students than that in LA. I know that, 75,000.
Yeah, that's nothing.
That's nothing burger, yeah. They will offer birth control, though. It's good. And also they're going to offer Plan B, which is the one where if you had it last night, you take the pill and you get rid of it. That's the plan, the day after pill. They're going to be having those. And pregnancy testing, counseling, and a range of mental health and substance abuse resources. Mm-hmm. I just think that, one of the things I did see there, the California law permits teens older than 12 to receive birth control and related treatment without parental consent.
Yeah. Well, the big scary thing is can and will they receive gender reassignment therapy?
Ooh, good. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, well, we've seen it in a couple of places around the United States already, and we've certainly seen it in the UK. It's big in the UK and Canada, or I shouldn't say big, but we reported on a couple of different schools that had what you could call epidemics, with dozens of students transitioning and things like that. And like I said, all without the permission. But what we've seen, even in Florida, there are schools where if the child reports that they feel different and they want to do that, then the school will help them get medication and counseling.
I just wonder,
including hormones and serious stuff.
Here you are, you're a 7th or 8th grade gym teacher or science teacher, math teacher, or social studies, and the child comes up to you, and we're talking about somebody here who's 13, 14?
Or 11.
11, well, that's in elementary school, I think.
Well, no, middle school. Middle school is 11, 12, 13.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Right.
So it was just, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, see, this for me,
maybe,
is a century
maybe it's
ago,
12, 13, 14. I mean, but by the time you're 15, you're certainly in high school. But
yeah, okay. Yeah. So anyway, but like you say, 12 or 13, whatever, and you go to the teacher and you say, I'm a girl today, or I'm a boy today, or something. You cut your hair, you do all dykey things, and ding, oh God, okay. This particular video
that's
has
right, X-rated.
X-rated. That's right. No monetization on this one. So good.
You said the hate word.
Said the hate word. That's right. But I just wonder what the teacher says. I mean, do they have additional training? If the school...
Well, we're glad you brought that up.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, no, I presume that they will have additional training and all sorts of things as it expands out there. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, look, I think that they're running into some resistance in the sports arena. And
yeah.
I mean, who knows where it'll go.
I was thinking about wrestling, for instance, in high school.
There's a lot of that stuff.
I mean, really.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Just pretend it's a boy, okay? When you go out there and it's a girl.
Yeah.
And just pretend in your weight class.
Right.
I'd like to see,
Well, that's fine, but obviously, if women's sports gets destroyed, then maybe they don't want that. I mean, we spent decades building up women's sports teams, and
Title IX or whatever it is, all that stuff they had because they withhold funds and so forth.
Well, I mean, there's been more than that. There's a real competitive sports league of women,
right?
But it's not all of them. It's smaller. The guys are more interested in that kind of physical contest.
Yeah.
But there is a group of girls, and obviously, if men are allowed to compete in that league, it's going to change things.
Yeah, got them out. You go in there and suddenly, there's some, I don't know, competition, high school competition, for instance, where a lot of the boys have decided to transition, and suddenly they're kicking the poop out of everybody, all the other schools. So anyway, that's great. Okay, here's something for attorneys.
Aha. I know one of them.
This is an outrage, mind you, over Harvey Weinstein's sex abuse settlement offer.
Yes.
Too little money for victims and too much money for attorneys. Now, apparently, they have set aside $25 million to satisfy the claims of the women who, are coming forward these days and claiming rape and so forth. But you got to ask yourself, the attorneys, I mean, they're all over the place. There's, everybody's an attorney in this stuff.
Yeah.
And I have seen this, you have too, I'm sure. I remember when I would go to foreclosure sales, and there was a paper that they would fill out, and it was all boilerplate, but there was a place where you could put in your fee. And it was, $500, and the judge, okay, and it was, you sitting there thinking, what did you do for that? You filled in the blank, for God's sakes. And apparently these guys are milking, there's 25 million
bucks. It's important to know how to fill in that blank.
I know that. You
Which
go to
box to check.
Law school for that. But I thought to myself, it's the people that are complaining. I wonder if any of the attorneys are complaining because they're seeing all this 25 million go to their buds. Attorney friends or something. They're not getting their share.
What? All the attorneys are getting paid.
I know they are, but here's the deal. What about the attorney who spent 100 hours and the other one spent 5?
What are you talking about? The first guy is a knave at the law firm, and the second guy's a partner.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, he was the one that did all the everything. Fresh out of law school.
That's it. Get your ass in the library.
That's right.
We're going to play golf.
That's it.
Call us when it's done. We'll check it over.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that's good. So anyway, I think it's an outrage, said lawyer Thomas so-and-so of the proposed deal, which calls for a pool of $25 million to be set aside for Weinstein victims by the insurers of the company that ran with his brother and so forth. It's a lousy number. It's way too low.
Yeah, like
that's the thing. They're panic-stricken that $25 million is not going to be even remotely enough.
Yeah.
To satisfy.
Well, how many is it? A dozen girls or something?
At least at this point, sure. But you can bet tons of them are coming out of the woodwork.
Maybe. Look, it's not as common as people imagine to just create a story about something like that and then go and file sworn documents in courts and that kind of stuff. You have to at least have had some issue, some event that is similar to what you're alleging in some way. Or unless you're just a terrible person. But the terrible people weed themselves out pretty quickly.
Okay.
They create those stories early on and they get jailed early in their lives and they get records and then they go off the deep end or whatever, or die, or who knows. It's not, people don't make it successfully halfway through lives and at the same time operate some scheme to defraud based on false claims of abuse. It's super rare. So
I didn't think it was all that rare. I mean, you hear about times all the time of the people getting hit by a car, for instance, when it's a fake.
Yeah,
and they go to the attorney, and then a neck brace or whatever it was.
Sure, and people do. I mean, you see the videos. There's a slip and fall guy will fake his fall. It happens a lot. What I'm getting at is that Harvey may have 1 or 2 fakers, but probably if there's a dozen or 2 dozen, if there's that number, they're probably mostly had some incident with him. Whether or not,
yeah, well, maybe not with him, but how about Bill Clinton? How about Prince Andrew?
Yeah.
At the place?
Yeah.
Either at the hotel or the Arizona place or the island.
Well, and again, you have one, and President Trump has, 2 dozen accusers or so, but none of them ever filed any, well, 1 of them filed, or 2 of them filed, and a couple of them were paid. But
I'm thinking, though, it just dawned on me, in that there was a series with the...
Don't say West Wing.
No.
Okay.
The plane, here come the plane. And it was, what's his name, the little short guy?
Yeah, Fantasy Island?
Fantasy Island, that's right. Yeah. So there we are. The plane, here come the plane.
Yeah, sure. So my point, though, is that, look, whoever wrote this article, who are they to decide how much money the victims should get? The victims get to decide that. That's literally... You're trying to help them, and so you let them decide.
Well, it was interesting that there was an attorney who said that the $25 million was not big enough to settle all the stuff. She came out and said, it's not enough. There's going to be more than that.
If the attorney represents somebody, then okay.
Yeah.
But it sounded like they were just some activist attorney who wanted to decry the patriarchy or something.
That lawyer represents Alexandra Canosa, who has said Weinstein raped and sexually abused her. That's the attorney.
Okay, well then she can say, hey, it's not enough.
Okay.
Too bad.
Okay.
I mean, each individual person has to agree to the settlement. They're not gonna do a blanket.
They're not.
No.
Can you here? Let me ask you a question. When they have this settlement out, do they pick it apart one by one,
Well,
or do they have a grandiose and they have all the plaintiffs in one?
both.
Okay.
What you can imagine, the attorneys for Weinstein would go to each of the individuals and say, look, we obviously have a bunch of other cases to settle, so the pool of money is this. And so you get to take your cut of that. That's how much we're...
Fair share.
That's it. Your fair share of this. And of course the people will be like, no. My client was seriously raped and your client was just patted on the butt or something. And so... we want $2 million or whatever, and different people will raise up and they'll tell some people, hey, if you fight us, we'll win your case, or we'll focus our attention on your case and win it, and you will get nothing, and that kind of stuff. And also there'll be a protracted legal battle, and you'll have to describe the entire thing and what you did to Harvey in the back room, in court, on the stand, over and over again. And that's it. And the girls are like, "What? No, I don't want the
money now.
I'll take my 1.2 million or whatever it is." So.
Well, of course, it works both ways. I know that there are attorneys here in town. Ever since what's his name started 20 years ago,
Bagan.
It was before Bagan. I think there was a guy named Goldman or something who was
okay.
And anyway, but he started it with his big billboards and everything.
That's
but
when they changed the advertising rules.
They changed the advertising rules, and now, of course, you send a letter to the insurance company, and they're just saying, "I'm not going to fight this," and they'll write a check for $10,000 or whatever it is. In other words, there's a limit. There's some point where the attorney's going to send their attorney, the insurance company's going to send their attorneys in, and I guess the attorneys here in town probably know what the limits are.
Sure.
Right under $1 less than that.
Well, what it comes down to is there's if the attorney gets involved on the side of the plaintiff, then they know that there's some relatively good cash or easy cash coming one way or the other.
Yeah, because I remember one thing that I thought I had a pretty good case and called one and said, "You got nothing."
Yeah. That happens all the time.
Yeah. Okay, but interestingly enough, speaking of legal type stuff,
okay,
a Los Angeles police officer was charged with fondling a corpse.
Yeah.
Let me just finish this up. Los Angeles police officer who allegedly fondled a dead woman's breast was charged with a felony. 27 years old, with having sexual contact with human remains without authority. Now, of course,
I want to confront my accuser.
Yeah, right. According to a statement he said he would face up to 3 years in prison if convicted.
Yeah.
Apparently what happened was she just died. She was still not totally cold yet, and he touched a woman's breast while he was alone in a room with the corpse. But
who reported this?
Well, here's the deal. He had turned off his chest camera or whatever it was, but apparently there was another camera in the room.
Still, who reported that?
Somebody. Well,
what I'm getting at is whoever reported this, go pound sand. Look, if you're the camera guy, you come in, you're the operator, and your job is to monitor these cameras and whatever, and you're gonna look. You go.
You said what happened is if it was a feminist girl who was monitoring, she's looking at, she's saying, "Ew."
Like, here's what you do: you go in there and you tell the person, "Look, we just saw you do that. I got you on camera. If I ever hear of you ever doing it again, or if you come back or whatever it is, I'll turn this stuff over to the cops. And until then..."
Well, apparently that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Whoever it was, she turned it over to the cops right away. Right.
Because here's the thing. They're actually the ones that are causing the harm. Like, the harm is to the family who survived, right?
Right, and that's what they said. The family's devastated.
Right, of course. And if nobody had told the family, then the family wouldn't be devastated.
No harm, no foul.
Exactly.
And the alleged behavior the LAPD, of course, came out and said his alleged behavior is abhorrent and an affront to every law enforcement professional working with the LAPD. Well, no bullshit.
Look, it is, but the point is that there was more harm in the conducting of the prosecution of this crime than there was in the actual crime committed.
20,000.
Far more.
cost him 20 grand to get out of jail, and he faces up to 3 years.
Oh yeah, no, and they'll convict him, and it'll be obvious because he's on camera, and so the guy will
It's not me.
go to jail, and I mean, and his career is ruined, and if he's got a family, the family busted up or whatever. I mean, all that devastation because somebody reported it.
But I mean, like you say, it wasn't like the woman on there stood up and said, "Don't touch my breast."
Or even if the family had walked in while he was doing that, okay, then you got to tell somebody. The harm's done, okay? But in this situation, the reporter actually caused the harm. It's
right. Yeah. You're right about that. Anyway, so moving on to other sins. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk. Now I love this.
Yeah.
This is where the headline does not have anything to do with what's going on here. Elon Musk is sending marijuana to astronauts on the ISS.
Yeah, man.
And could create a new mutant weed.
Right.
Now, of course, he's not actually doing that. It happens to be his rocket.
It's a project to create mutant weed, obviously.
It totally is. The space dwellers can expect their delivery to be on the SpaceX Dragon capsule, which is scheduled to make its trip in 2020. Musk himself he's behind, but he's not the brains. Mm-hmm. What's happened is actually an agri-tech company called Front Range Biosciences. The firm recently announced its intentions to send plant cultures.
Space weed.
No, it gets better. Well, the thing is, they're sending up hemp, which has no stuff in it. The legal cannabis strain with low levels of THC.
Yeah.
They're gonna put it in the ISS International Space Station incubator for 30 days. And then they'll bring it back. Yeah. And they're going to monitor it completely from the University of Colorado in Boulder, which figures, since hemp, since it's all recreational stuff, is all legal in Colorado, by Biospace Technologies. On once home, the Front Range Biosciences will be observing what effect, if any, space radiation and microgravity has had on the gene expression of hemp. So there is science to support, said the CEO, to support this theory that plants in space experience mutations. Now, the beauty is, this is what you're worried about, slightly. You get this mutation and you bring it back to Earth. Well, did you see that movie with the talking tree and the rat, Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's a mutant plant.
Groot.
Groot. Yeah.
There was another one. There was a great Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah.
This meteor lands and like this green grass sort of grows up around it, and all of a sudden it grows on everything, and then the guy sitting there and it starts growing on him, and it just takes over everything in no time.
It's like a chia pet from space.
Yeah, exactly.
Chia pet from space.
Well, like obviously they're trying to get some mileage out of that Elon Musk smoking on Joe Rogan's.
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. It's so funny. He I'm sure he doesn't know what's on this damn thing at all. But now his headline, bold letters, Elon Musk.
So Scott just asked a question real quick. He pointed out the discrepancy between the federal and the state laws in terms of marijuana, and said what controls. I think he knows because he's a lawyer, but and it's the federal law that controls. If they want to go in and bust the people at the state level, they can do that. And that's what's prevented the real growth and proliferation of
Let them bust into the space station.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Come on, get us.
Come on up here and get it. That's right. They have their own.
Don't tempt them, man. They'll put a space force up there.
Space force, that's right.
That's right. They'll have a
lasers.
Well, exactly. It'll be a space shuttle with lasers on it, like the 007 Moonraker.
With lasers.
That's it. Sharks and everything.
Sharks with lasers.
So. Well, but hopefully, and I think what's happening is the weed situation is clearing up. So
yeah, it's about time too. I did notice we have down here a CBD place.
Yeah, they're popping up.
I mean, you just walk in there and buy whatever it is.
Well, I think you have to have a. Oh no, CBD you can get. Yeah, CBD so. You can just buy stuff.
And I thought it was interesting. There's a storefront.
Yeah, it says
brand
your
new
CBD store.
Yeah,
I saw it.
Yeah.
Well, and apparently now they're selling real, actual weed in the stores, in the weed stores.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Here in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Since the
now those you have to have a note.
Yes.
Right? Okay. You have to have a note from
your doctor.
Yeah, like that's going to be hard to get.
Oh, they're super hard.
Yeah, I know. Hey,
super
Doc.
Hard.
Here's what we can do.
Tens of dollars.
Tens of dollars. That's right. That's right. Into double digits.
Double digits at least.
FTC, speaking of the Federal Trade Commission order, weighs an injunction against Facebook over how its apps interact. Now, this is what's amazing to me. As soon as
Break them up, man.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
this is where they're starting. The federal officials are considering seeking a preliminary injunction against Facebook over antitrust concerns related to how its products interact. And one of the things is now, Facebook owns what, Snapchat and what do they have? Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger.
Okay.
And besides
Yeah,
Facebook.
well, Snapchat and Instagram are different. One of them is Google and one of them is Facebook.
Right, well, Instagram, it says here, is from Facebook.
Okay.
And if it materializes, what they're worried about is as Facebook continues to integrate these things into Facebook.
Worried about anti-competitive behavior.
Right, well, that's the thing. And so what they're saying, they want a preliminary injunction to stop Facebook from integrating these into Facebook.
Right.
Because what they're worried about is if they win the suit, who knows when, they'll find it very difficult to break it up.
Take over the world.
That's right, take over the world.
There'll be no stopping them.
Well, they said they're going to block
what?
Facebook from enforcing these policies on the grounds that they are anti-competitive.
Yeah, see?
And I'm thinking,
Look,
no, really?
Yeah, and look, they have no clue what anti-competitive means. From their perspective, anti-competitive is competitive. That is to say, if something competes with you, well, that's anti-competitive. We don't want to deal with that. That's literally how they think of it. It's the regulatory mindset.
What's interesting is when you think about it, and it was, what was it before, Spaceface, or what was the one before Facebook?
MySpace.
MySpace.
Yeah.
And I think it's still around, actually.
Yeah, well, we talked about it. It's a zombie thing.
I know, but my point is that not only Google and Facebook and all of those started off this big.
It's just like 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, they were nothing.
Right.
So...
Not even 20 years ago.
No, not even, right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
No.
I think Google showed up in 96. So.
Yeah, it had the beta thing, but Facebook was 2006 or something.
Yeah, right, exactly. So the deal is, though, that if the joke, of course, is that just about the time they get their claws into this thing, somebody else is going to show up, and they're going to shut them out.
Exactly
that's going to happen.
Look,
Facebook is not going to take this lying down. They're going to go to court with the rest of them.
Well, of course. Look, we know this is how the cycle happens, and this is what drives people like AOC to want to do the regulation. She sees the need. She's like, oh my God, Facebook is taking over. But she doesn't understand that if she can see it, that other people can see it. And that if she were involved in a market system instead of a controlled government system, her instinct, instead of would be pass a law to outlaw this thing, it would be to create a competitor.
It would be, I can do better than that.
Exactly. I can offer them. The other day they had a thing on there where she said, we need companies to do paid medical leave for more than 6 weeks. And she said, the rest of the world is at 8 weeks, or somebody chimed in, I'm in Germany and I have 2 years, from my maternity leave. Mm-hmm. And she was like, we need to get this. She said, dogs are treated better in the United States because they get 8 weeks or something. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know where she came. The point is that she's trying to make this comparison, and she's trying to say that her one-size-fits-all policy for leave is what should be mandated for everybody, without even considering the concept of that difference could offer a company strategic advantage in the marketplace if they were to offer their employees, hey, by the way, we have extra maternity leave.
Two things to consider. One is, I've seen this where they said that the woman, out there picking the weeds or what are the plants or whatever, gives birth, takes the child back to the dad or the hut or whatever, and goes back to work. I mean, like within 24 hours.
What are you talking about there?
Well, what I'm saying is that it is not life or death if to have, it seems to me, months and months. But let me. Okay,
it could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything, and it could be that they after 2 days the woman says, "Hey, I'm feeling great.
Exactly.
I need to go back to work. I need to go back to work."
Exactly.
So, but one of the things that is interesting about this, and I just responded to my friend Kara on Facebook, and she's a doll. She's now in Alabama, but she was a secretary, fabulous, well organized, but she's kind of a government person. We love her. But she was wondering where on earth did this healthcare business come from? And of course, what I wrote to her was in 1943, roughly 1943, there were wage controls. The government said you cannot offer more money than this for your workers. They had a whole slew of things with your wartime stuff. They had wage and price controls.
But they could offer benefits.
They could. That's right. They could, and that's where it started. That's in order to entice. They had to offer a non-monetary benefit. And so the first thing they did, and back then it was El Cheapo. I mean, it didn't cost hardly anything to offer this because it was just the way it was. I mean,
Because the nurse would just rub some dirt on it.
rub some dirt on it. Well, not only that, I mean, I can tell you that right after the war, in the 40s, the doctor would come to my house in his Studebaker, I'll never forget this, and with his little black bag.
Privileged white.
Not hardly. And he got paid with a banana. No, he got paid with a chick. I don't know what it was. But I mean, there was nothing. And one of the things you realize is that, and I can tell you from personal experience, that your catastrophic, or your health care in general, your insurance cost almost nothing until the mid to late 60s when the government got involved in it.
Right. Well,
You could write a check. You could pay. You had, the doctor would finish up and it was like $10 and you had the money.
Look, obviously, as soon as they created the massive demand, as soon as they mandated the insurance for everything.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. They got involved in it, and they just don't realize how they've ruined it completely. Because
No, it's coming out now. I think people are realizing. Look, for example, in a completely different area, but the same effect. Their efforts to make school affordable has made school completely unaffordable.
Right.
Their efforts to make healthcare
for everybody.
That's right. Has made it completely unaffordable.
Right.
And it's that kind of thing that when you create that type of distortion in the market, that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that because there's this guy and I keep forgetting his name. I meant to tell you he's on.
Richard Wolff.
No, no, Richard Wolff. No, this is the car guy. He's on, and Peters is his name, something Peters. Anyway, I think he was an editor for Hot Rod or Road and Track or something for years. And he knows everything there is about cars, other than Jeremy, what's his name in England. But he knows everything, and so he's talking about the mandates that have run the prices up like crazy, and actually a lot of them are backfired. And of course, this is one of the things that he talks about the really bad news on the electric cars and that kind of thing and what's happening.
Oh yes, speaking of electric cars, keep going.
Okay, I'm gonna bring that up in just a second.
Okay.
But his name is something Peters. Anyway, you should go to his website. He's really a good guy. But the mandates, of course, are a lot of them are accomplish the opposite of what they're supposed to. Hard to believe. But I mean, when you think about them, like airbag, airbag replacement is like thousands of dollars if it poofs. And what I mean is it can poof on nothing. You can do a bump into something.
Well, yeah, but I'd rather have it overpoof than underpoof.
Well, except for the fact that one of the things they had a little problem with, again,
the metal shards, the shrapnel,
the razor blades that were in the bag. But no, it was when you have your kid in the front seat. Who's strapped in,
poofs into their face, and smashes them into the back of the seat.
Yeah. So anyway, stuff like that.
They're getting better at that stuff all the time, and that's why you got to watch NASCAR, is to promote the safety. That's right. The fastest.
What are they going to do? They're going to turn to the left.
Hey, sure.
Where are they going? They're going to the left. The world's first all-electric fire engine, speaking of electric cars, was unveiled by California. Now, what's interesting about this is I didn't bring it here, but apparently there's now a commercial, I don't know how far it is, flight all-electric airplane.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a picture of it. I didn't pull. Maybe next time I'll pull down the article.
I'm the picture guy. I got your fire trucks here.
No, you got.
No. You were mentioning the electric plane.
No. Okay, fire truck. Yeah, you got the fire truck. Okay, good. The electric vehicles are not new, said the Menlo Park, whatever it is, guy. The fire engine, which is black and yellow and looks not that one, obviously.
No, there it is, right there.
There it is. Hey, that's it. That's the fire truck. And the burning question is whether
like a fire bus to me.
Well, I'm not sure exactly. Could be. You certainly want to go to the fire in style. Yeah. So anyway, this is made by an Austrian company, Rosenbauer. which I thought was interesting. The thing comes from Austria. So okay. Burning question, of course, is it going to run out of juice before?
Right, and then you got to send it back to Austria to get charged.
I guess, or something like that. This is in Fremont, California. They said that what happened was a Tesla patrol car, cop car, ran out of juice, almost ran out of juice when they were in a chase.
Oh yeah.
Because everything doesn't.
Should have launched his remote drone.
But no, I mean, what's so funny about this is they said this can happen. Well, it did say. The guy from Fremont, yeah, exactly.
Your siren.
Well, you got to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself what on a fire truck is all electric. I mean, I don't know, but
the engine and the pump. I mean, that's
the pump. Yeah, certainly stuff like that.
So look, what I'm showing you here. This is a collection of other all-electric fire trucks from around the world.
Okay.
Actually. So I don't know how ours can be the first. This, I mean,
first in the U.S., I guess.
Well, maybe so.
First in Menlo Park.
World's first, yeah, and yeah. But look at this guy's got a hose coming out of his right here. That's kind of funny. But now some of these little tiny ones are used at resorts, like
what?
Yeah. So you
look at that.
I guess
what.
I guess you drive up, you get out, and then you pee on the fire.
I don't know. There's one in a foreign language. That must be from Austria.
That's it. And see, these ones have little kanji on them, so that's got to be China or.
China.
And but interesting. But look, these are little jumpy fire trucks.
Well,
you
what's
want
interesting?
To see fire trucks. We have fire trucks.
That's right.
This is
New South Wales, yeah.
Yeah. Look at that thing. I mean, that can put out some fire.
Well, yeah, but you can bet that's not electric.
No. Now this here's a blue one. I don't know what the heck. See the green one. I was thinking to myself. I mean, look, red is the Pierce
fire
enforcer. Yeah, red. You know what that's about? That's get out of the way. Look at this guy in the '38 Packard.
So anyway, it says here the guy said they're not worried about it running out of juice. The guy said the chief or such said, "I'll tell you why, because we, in the design phase, will make sure that we don't have a single point of failure."
Oh, well, good.
That's it. I'm glad to hear
Put that in the contract.
That's it, exactly. No, I mean, here we've got all the blueprints. Here, no failures here.
No failures.
No,
we double checked.
We double checked, and we had top men.
That's it. Top men. Exactly.
That's right.
Well, yes. Well, we'll get to some of those top men and failure stuff in just a minute.
Okay, let me go on. Moving on.
Look at this fire truck here. Look at that thing, man.
God, it's a fire tank.
It is.
Jesus.
It looks like the old one we used to ride on.
Well, you look at the fire putting out stuff. For instance, the ones in the where the big ships come in, and the tugboats that are all set up.
I tried to.
I mean, those are and those things throw water like a mile. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Okay, let me just see here. We're getting here towards the end. So let me just go through and see if there isn't something that... December 19th, by the way. Today is the 15th, so before our next show, is that right? No.
The next show is the 18th.
No, let's see, today is 15, so 16, 17, 18, right. So after our next show, they're going to have another thing with the Democrat candidates. A lot of them are... Debate. Debate's the 19th, I guess Thursday. So what's happening though is they are going to maybe not have it. Why do you think this is? They are going to be in solidarity with, because it's supposed to be at Loyola Marymount University in L.A. Mm-hmm. in solidarity with the campus food service workers who are on strike. So they're not going to cross the picket line.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to make a prediction.
They're going to march through the picket line?
Yeah, either that or they're going to move the thing. Okay,
could be, because it represents 150 servers, dishwashers, cashiers, and cooks.
Yeah. And of course, these Democrats represent 150 million people.
Right, that's right. So they asked the candidates not to cross the picket line. The companies that they don't want to break the picket line, honestly. And of course, the guy that's the head of the cashiers union or whatever this is, well, honestly, the proposals are just modest living wage, improvements in health care.
all we want is $1 million.
Yeah, that's right.
For everybody.
Okay,
It's
moving
very
on.
modest.
We're getting here towards the end. Let me do another
Very
thing.
modest. We thought about 2.
Yeah, I know. Well, so your thing. We're going to come back on Wednesday. You'll have another chance to do another update your prediction to see if they're going to
Hillary
cross,
gets back. Oh, no.
or if they're going to settle.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
they might. You know, what the heck? I mean, one of those guys could probably write him a check. You know, the 150 workers. So you hear, well, how much do y'all want? For $500, would you
Come
go
on,
home?
Bloomberg.
Yeah, that's right.
Pony it up.
Pony it up. Mitch McConnell files for his 7th term in Kentucky. Now, I think this is funny. I laugh at this. The longest-serving U.S. senator has tied himself closely to Donald Trump, and of course, his 7th term. Now, this is six times 4 is 24 years he'll have been in, and he's filing to go to 28 years in the Senate. I'm telling you, man, that's a
I thought
long.
the Senates were 6 years.
The Senate is. You're right. I'm sorry. It is. It's 6 years. So right. I'm sorry. 5 times. 30 years he's been in office. No, in the Senate. 30 years. Jesus.
Well, yeah, 36.
There are over 100 House representatives and senators that have been in Washington for over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
God, I tell you, it must be nice. I just, and of course, he squeaked by on the last
time.
Yeah, I mean, squeaked by. So it'll be interesting to see if they can come up with that. I
We'll
don't know.
see.
Okay, I'm just about done.
Well, we have to touch on the IG report real quick.
Okay, good. I didn't have that.
So this came out before the last time, but I didn't have a chance to really look at the players and what was going on, but I have now to some extent, so I can report on what I believe is happening.
Okay.
Now, so the IG is the internal affairs person for the FBI. That is, it's themselves investigating themselves.
Okay. So so when you hear about internal affairs, those are the police people that are investigating the police people.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a
So this is
division within the FBI.
So this is the okay. I did
And
not
that's
know that.
Horowitz. Okay. Now he was appointed by Obama. Now I've said from the beginning of this. First of all, I said there wasn't even going to be an investigation because why would we investigate ourselves?
We found nothing wrong on his face.
Hey, you know what? Let me think about it. Nope, we're good. And so, but they, and I guess the abundance of caution, and I think because they knew that this would be a friendly report to the FBI, basically. And they went through with it, and sure enough, it was friendly. And it came out, and what they said, the IG basically, he was very limited in his reports, even more so than Mueller was.
Was this a 300-page report?
400.
400. Ooh,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. But basically, what he said was 2 things. He said that the FBI met the standard for proceeding with the prosecution. And that was the question, because obviously if they didn't meet the standard, then there's some shenanigans going on. So the standard was articulable suspicion.
Okay.
Which Scott Adams points out, he doesn't think that's a standard at all, because it seems to him anything can be articulated.
Right.
But there's a little that's articulated in that phrase is a term of art. And it basically means reasons that are that are race neutral, gender neutral. It means reasons that aren't obviously wrong on their face.
Okay.
And also it goes beyond stuff like a hunch or something. You have to be able to articulate the suspicion. And this
Can
is
you
what
articulate a hunch?
no, you can't. Well, that's the whole thing. And that's so there is actual line. This was the big thing in the stop and frisk movement up in New York. The concept is a policeman can stop you and frisk you if they can articulate some suspicion about you. And all they have to say is something like you were moving quickly, or your eyes were darting around, or you looked nervous, you were sweating. They have to articulate something, but they can't say something like, well, they were black guys,
Well, so there's running away counts as articulable.
Depends if it's a suspicious running away, but that's true. It's true.
No, I know.
And so, but you can't like for example, if the police officer says that they ran away because they saw me, and when they saw law enforcement they ran away. That is not a reason for them to give chase. Actually.
Okay.
That's been ruled by the courts as not a suspicious
Well, let me ask you a
reason.
question. I don't
Sure.
want to get too deep on the weeds on this.
Yeah.
But let's say
Indeed.
you look and you see the cop and you start walking briskly
Right.
away, and the cop says, "Wait, stop."
So here's what it comes down to.
Here's an order. I order you to stop.
That's right. I've actually gotten a case dismissed in that exact circumstance.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my God.
I saved somebody a life felony because what I argued was they didn't hear the cop.
Okay.
And the guy was far enough away so the cop had to admit that it's possible he didn't hear.
Okay.
So if you can't prove he heard you, then...
But the point is, what if he did hear you?
Now, so then it comes down to...
So what?
Well, here it comes down to if the cop was in the lawful investigation if they were in the course of a lawful investigation and the person knew it. That is to say, if a cop just yells at you, "Hey, stop!" You can just keep running unless you know that he's investigating you for something. Or he's investigating something, and you're part of the investigation.
Okay.
So it's a very
I'll tell you, that's
it is. But you interview all the people involved, and then the judge makes a determination, and so it is an actual standard. But in this case, so you can see how slight of a standard it is.
Yeah.
It's super low. And in this case, the Horowitz, the IG, came out and said the FBI met that standard.
Okay.
But they also made 17 mistakes that were critical in the case.
Okay.
And these are omissions and inclusions of information which changed basically the outcome of the FISA warrant application.
okay.
And to me, this is what this all comes down to, what I've been saying from the very beginning, which is at the bottom of that FISA warrant application, there is some lawyer's signature. And that's the person that's going to have to answer to this at the end of the day. And what you have now is a special prosecutor in John Durham, who has been appointed as an outside investigator on the exact same situation that Horowitz just investigated as the internal investigator. And he has broader purview because he's investigated it as a criminal offense. So we'll see what this person comes up with and whether or not they indict, or at least they should at least very least report the attorney who signed off on the FISA warrant, because that is what they call a verified warrant or a verified application. The complaint has to be verified, which means that the attorney signing it has to say that they believe what's in there is true. And if there's evidence that they shouldn't have believed that, then they should be in trouble. From what I understand, at the bottom of at least one of those reports is Comey's signature.
Aha.
Now that would explain why we haven't heard the name of that attorney, of that lawyer yet, because once it gets to that level, the top blows off. But until we get to the point of where they're talking about the lawyer who signed the application to the FISA court, then we're just in nebulous territory.
So I mean, but could this come down to a poison tree? That everything after that is bogus?
Oh, yeah. Well, it already has that. I mean,
Okay.
we already know that the report turned up nothing from Mueller, and everything turned up nothing. The question is, was it maliciously motivated in some way in the beginning?
Okay.
And the report from Horowitz says, no, it wasn't. And we'll see what Durham comes back and says. I personally believe that it was McCabe.
Yes, I know you said that from day one, and that makes sense because obviously he was pissed.
He was pissed off. Personally pissed off because Trump insulted his wife, and he decided, and he flat out said that he was the one that started the investigation, and he flat out stated that he was the one that put the investigation on the solid footing so that it couldn't be dismissed through sort of normal channels. In other words, he's the one that got the thing rolling and got it integrated so that people could just rubber stamp everything after that. But so it seems to me like McCabe and or Comey may be in some hot water at the end of the day. But typically you don't see the executive investigating its agencies like this, but we haven't seen the animosity between the president and the FBI
that's the truth.
like this in decades,
that's right.
if ever. So
right.
It's interesting to see how far it'll go. And
well, there was an animosity with Andrew Johnson and everybody else.
Okay.
In the 1868 or 70s or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I'm going back. I'm just trivia.
Just remembering, I understand.
That's right, I understand.
So anyway, all right. So we'll see what happens with that. So that's my IG report.
Okay.
And so there we go.
We're a little over time.
Oh,
unless you have something that's critical.
Oh, I did have a tech update actually, which I'll do as we go out here, which is just They've come up with a new technique to densify wood further. And what they do is they sort of blend it up and then press it down, compress it together. And without the use of resins and things like that, they've been able to make the wood like 30 times stronger.
Really?
For certain purposes, like tearing and puncture. And so it's basically concrete level for a certain thing. Now, concrete is great for compression, but not so good. It's brittle. But the point is, new materials, so the new techniques because of nanotech, basically.
Okay.
So this is Kevin MacLeod. Thank you, Kevin, for these tracks. We appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Scott. Oh, the 38 pack. It does look like Jay Leno's fire truck. So, anyway, we'll be back on the 18th, the day before the debate there. So we'll see you then. I'm Councilor Curtis. This is the Jimmy Dunn Show.